Hello and welcome again to Naturally Adventurous. I'm Charley Hesse. I'm joined by my good friend Ken Behrens.
Hi, folks.
And for a second time, our special guest, Linjo.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm happy to be here again. And I realized I'm the first woman in that podcast.
Quite the honor.
First woman in the podcast. Today we're going to carry on with your pretty adventurous journey that we covered last time. We couldn't fit it all into one episode. It had me on the edge of my seat. I was riveted. I really felt when you were discussing that chase for the Serpent Eagle through the forest, I really felt I was like standing like right behind you in the forest, sort of trying to scan inside. It was it was very gripping. So I'm very excited to hear a few more adventures today.
I can only imagine the additional intensity you would have brought, Charley, considering that you've never seen Serpent Eagle and you're a compulsive lister.
Can you imagine?
It's one of only 7 birds you haven't seen in Madagascar.
It's a horrible feeling. It's like this gut-wrenching, somebody's like sort of grabbed your inner organs and just squeezing them, like knowing this thing, you might never see it and it's going to fly away at any second and you're going to miss it. And even worse, someone else is going to see it and you're going to miss it. That's the worst.
Worst? That's the worst.
Oh, it's the worst. Yeah.
No, but
I sometimes see like I'm trying to look for something with my wife and she's looking and I'm looking and I'm just envisaging this scenario where she sees it and I don't. And sometimes maybe I see it and she doesn't, and she says, "I'm very happy for you," and I was like, "Wow, well, you must be such you're a better person than me."
Just think about it, Charley. You're going to have Felix gripping you off now, and you're getting older. He's getting sharper. He's going to be picking stuff up that you don't even get on.
I know.
It's
and he's getting much more accurate at IDing stuff. So when he says he's seen stuff, more often than not, he's correct.
It's legit,
in his IDs
right?
now. So
terrifying. Just think.
Don't think about it.
So
think about coming to Bemanevika.
Oh, I've just been looking through your photo gallery from some of those birds. So they're very nice to see. That I was looking at that poacher. It actually looks very similar to like a ferruginous poacher from Asia.
Definitely. Yep.
I think it must be not closely related. I don't know how it got from Asia to Madagascar. It must have sort of got lost. Pair got blown over the Indian Ocean or something.
Right. I mean, it's one of the more likely things to actually colonize over a huge amount of water. A lot more likely than like a magpie robin, which also somehow made it.
Yeah. Island hopping. Interesting stuff. Anyway, so I think you'd now gripped me off not one time but 4 times in what was it called? Bemanevika, the place you were?
Bemanevika.
Bemanevika, yeah. And so you take it. Let's pick up from where we got to.
Yeah. So I guess we'd finally caught up with the Serpent Eagle, right? After spending 12 hours. Actively searching for it with the radio tracker.
Like after the 2-3 time good look at this huge perched female.
So we made it back for a relatively early lunch at like 2:30 as opposed to 5 p.m. the previous attempt. And yeah, so what else? We did another highlight of our time in Bemanevika was we did a couple of absolutely epic night walks.
Yeah.
We've talked about this on the podcast before, Charley, about just how unbelievably productive and interesting night walks in Madagascar are. And these were like, even by the standards of the 8th continent, these were just ridiculously amazing night walks. What did we see?
Spent we spent like long. 3 hours.
We did 2 sort of 3-hour night walks. And it was so good, we just didn't want to stop. So we're getting back to camp at like 10 p.m. and it was hard to actually stop because you just felt like around the next corner was another amazing thing waiting for you.
And it was strange. We had like one night walk specialty with frogs and another one with chameleons. And in both, we had like many lemurs, mouse lemur and dwarf and...
And the first one we had
sleeping birds.
We had roosting. We had like 4 species of roosting birds. We had 4 species of nocturnal lemurs. we had this frog bonanza where we found like maybe 14 species of frogs in one night walk. I'm still trying to figure out what some of these things were. Some of them probably undescribed. Really? We had...
from the tiny to the big one.
Was it Angelique you were with, the guy you took with
Right,
you?
we were with Angelique, and he was just going nuts, like tearing around the forest.
Was he?
Following calls. And
he's pretty good on IDs for herps and stuff, is he?
He's pretty good. He has a lot of experience. He's been at the cutting edge of describing a lot of these things. He's a little rusty with some of it, like he doesn't remember all the details, but he definitely knows, like, this is probably something interesting, undescribed, and then, points you in the right direction to kind of follow it up later.
And how about Lukman, the local guy? Was he good on herps and stuff? Or not?
He's quite good on chameleons. Really sharp on nocturnal lemurs, and also finding a bunch of roosting birds, which was one of the cool things we saw was a roosting forest fody, which was quite a treat because that's a bird that it hybridizes widely with the more common widespread red fody. The ones that people often see on a tour are either hybrids or they're actually just molting Madagascar fodies. It's actually a really hard bird to see well. And so we saw this thing like 2 meters away? Just sitting there.
Low level.
Quite low down.
Yeah.
Low down. Yeah.
Like of my size.
I've noticed with a lot of birds that, because they're often up in the canopy when you see them during the day.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a canopy bird. Yep.
But you get these birds that are like super high up during the day, and then they come and roost really low down. It seems like quite an odd thing to do.
I suppose it's a function of where predators are. The place I've noticed that most strikingly is Borneo. There's just insane numbers of roosting birds that are sort of 4 to 8 feet above the ground.
Really?
And there's so many predators in Borneo. I've always thought that there's just must be more predators up in the canopy. But I'm not sure. That's just that's my guess.
One of my dreams in the next year or two, maybe when COVID leaves and we sort of start to get back on our feet, but I really want to get one of these like infrared cameras, these night cameras.
Thermal
heat
scope
sensitive night cameras.
They look amazing. Yep.
So the people that we know that have used them said, that you see a lot of sleeping birds and all sorts of stuff. On night walks, because when you're walking around, you must be missing so much stuff, especially when you're aiming to get eye shine or whatever. It's I think one day I'll have one of these.
I have the same ambition. They look like an amazing tool for the kind of things that we do. And I just can't imagine, with as much as you see in Madagascar, without one. It's going to be just overwhelming. It's going to be
every meter.
You never get anywhere.
Something here, something there.
Have like a 10-meter night walk. You just not get any further because there's so much to see. Another cool thing that Angelique found, it was a new Europlaties. Europlaties are these leaf-tailed geckos. They're some of the cooler animals in Madagascar. These very cryptic geckos with a big flat tail, and they often have fringes along the edges of their body, and during the day they flatten themselves onto a tree, and they can also change their coloration just like the way chameleons classically do, but they actually do it even more effectively for camouflage.
It's a little game that the local guides like to play. They'll go along and spot these things, and then they get the clients or the tour leaders or whatever and say, okay, there's one here, can you find, and you're spending like 10 minutes just like sort of gazing at this tree trunk or whatever, not seeing anything at all, and the local guides is sort of sniggering, and
they love that game.
Oh, they love it. They love it.
I like that game.
That's
too.
Fun. So I usually get it after a minute or two, but I don't think I've ever had a tour participant actually find the gecko. Because you don't know exactly what you're looking for. You don't know the search pattern. So this big gecko is within like 2 meters of you, but it's unbelievably hard to find.
My first, not actually encounter, but the first time I knew of these things was one of the old guides for tropical birding, Josh Engel. He did a slideshow, I think maybe in the States, and I'd come along to the States that season, and he was doing a slideshow on Madagascar and showing all the amazing stuff that you could see. And then he put this photo up of a tree trunk. And he says, okay, can you try and find something on here? And everybody's just like looking at this thing. There's probably like 50 people watching this slideshow. And I was like looking. And then he had like a little laser pointer, and he went around the edge of it, and I was like, oh my God, that is absolutely unbelievable. It blew my mind. It was one of the most things that really stood out for me on that talk, and one of the things that really gave me a real desire to sort of go and check out Madagascar.
Yeah, birds are far from the most amazing thing in Madagascar. The birds are great, but there's just so much more. We saw a couple of these leaf-tailed geckos, and part of what was exciting about that is the newly described species called, what is it?
Futsivava. Like white mouth.
Means white mouth in Malagasy. Most of them have a black mouth, and then this one has a white mouth. Just this bright white inside of its mouth.
Inside of its mouth, it's very bright white.
Shockingly white. So
all these Europlatyrs, they sort of mimic a certain thing. There's like a mossy one, it's like a mossy trunk, and then there's a lined one that's like a sort of dead leaf, and the fantastic one that looks like a little dead hanging tree leaf. So what does this one mimic?
This one it's like a Sikori, which is in the sort of mossy group.
So the mossy type.
Mossy type. Yep. Big flat tail.
But you don't see the white inside the mouth, except you're with researcher or specialist like Angelique, who'd kind of...
You've probably got to poke it with a stick or something like that. It'll probably sort of...
I think there's
a stick doesn't work.
It's a technical term for, diagnosing the interior of the mouth color.
Did you get a picture of that mouth
of the
color?
mouth? No, I didn't. I should have tried harder. We should have taken a little video or something. But it's very striking. It's hard to ID until you see the interior of the mouth, and it's like, yep, that's Futsivava.
Really? That's amazing.
So, a couple epic night walks, and otherwise I think we've pretty much filled you in about how we spent our time there. Now, one thing we haven't...
What were some of the other nocturnal lemurs that you saw? I'm quite curious.
Well, good question.
Are they all...
Undescribed. It's just sort of terra incognita for these things.
Really?
So we saw a dwarf lemur multiple times. We saw 40 mouse lemurs and got great photos of them. Nobody knows what species that is. Not even.
So we just called them mouse lemur, and the Lookman guide was just pointing, and then we had to guess what is he pointing, and then you see the mouse lemur, and then mouse lemur, and that's it. We would ask him, and he said mouse lemur. Because he doesn't wanna give something he's not sure about.
Nobody knows.
Right. Oh no, that's good. Yeah.
There was Avahi, it's actually in the Sifaka family, so it's kind of an upright sitting and springing, back leg. Yep, back leg springing lemur. It's a weird family, the Sifakas, because half of them are diurnal, and then half of them are these woolly lemurs or Avahis. And
we had an highlight of the rat. We've seen a new rat. I think it was new for Ken as well. He was like cute, as you always...
Like a forest rat type thing?
Yeah, a forest rat, but it's called the Folavanala.
Yeah, there's all these cool endemic rats. There's an endemic subfamily of rodents, Neomycinae, I think. But you just don't see them very often unless you are setting pitfall traps or whatever. But we just stumbled onto one of these, which is sort of the biggest. It's just this absolutely enormous rat. It's wider.
Like a ball.
It's wider than it is long in terms of the body.
Yeah.
It's like round,
really?
With huge.
Is it like the reddish ones?
No.
It's
red forest rats.
It's gray on the back and very white below.
Huh.
Pale gray, yeah.
Pale gray, yeah. This big pallid.
Is it a ground thing or a arboreal one?
Well, the literature that I've checked says it is a terrestrial creature. We saw it in a low tangle.
Yeah, like a bush.
Right.
My guess is it's just kind of climbing up there to feed on something, which just about any rat would do.
Catch him.
Yeah, but it's not a very well-known animal. Like how many people have actually seen this thing doing its thing? People have seen them in traps from time to time.
And he stands still. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he just froze in the spotlight.
He froze, and then we had I would have stayed there much longer just looking at this uncommon rat. He was like stuffed animal.
Like a stuffed animal,
very
well stuffed.
Yeah, very well stuffed. Very white belly. You wanna caress it.
It was cool. And just totally unexpected, like of all the hundreds of night walks I've done, I've never seen this animal, and all of a sudden, there's this huge cool rat I've never seen before. Some people will sort of poo-poo a rat sighting, but it was legitimately quite exciting.
They're actually quite charismatic. They're sort of these larger rodents in Madagascar. They're actually quite fun, these forest rats, and of course that giant jumping rat that we talked about a while ago.
Oh, that's one of the cooler mammals on the island for sure. Yeah. Yep. So, one thing I didn't talk about last time of the dynamics of our time at Bemanevika, we told you about how bad the road was going up there. Mm-hmm. But we were right on the cusp of when it's not completely insane to go up there. Some people would say it's completely insane anytime, but we're already at the boundaries of sanity there. So, but it could rain anytime, and if there's a heavy rain, you are just going to be stuck there probably for 4 or 5 months. We probably would have had to leave the car and either walk down or hire some motorbikes. No exaggeration. That road is right on the cusp of what's possible when it's bone dry, and a heavy rain. It just would have been done. So while we were there, we had a couple fairly heavy rains. Like it rained while we were looking for the Serpent Eagle, but it wasn't one of those sort of all night, many centimeters of rain, kind of like real onset of the rainy season rains. It was one of these kind of precursor rains. But every time it rained, I was like looking at Linsu and we're like, oh boy.
Yeah, we were crossing fingers. We hope we won't get stuck here, even if it's nice to stay there. You don't want to get stuck for 5 months. We've been stuck with COVID already. we didn't need more.
Sick of red owls by the end of it.
So we were a bit flexible about when we were going to leave, but it had been dry for a full day, and then the night was dry, and we basically decided, okay, although we'd love to stay longer, it's time. Yep.
Yeah, but before we left, we need to say about the chameleon, like the hafa. It was very pretty one. So we've seen like hundreds of them in the forest each time. In the end, we were like, hafa. That's the name of the chameleon. It's only seen there.
It's Kaluma hafa, and it's only known from that Bemanevika forest.
Yeah.
It was fairly recently described, and it seems to be endemic just to that forest, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have seen that. It seems that we only had like hafa for.
We saw more than 100 of these, so it's highly localized, but it's incredibly common within that area.
Like everything in Bemanevika, all the rare thing seems to be very common.
So we got a full dose of hafa. It was...
hafa means like weird or different or
in Malagasy.
strange in Malagasy. That's a Malagasy word, like... Yeah.
And that's a northern word too, right? Like a Sakalava word? Or is it an official word as well?
It's both. It's like very spread word.
But sort of slang, or is it an official word?
No, official.
Okay.
When you...
Hafa.
It comes from hafa, and then you do it 2 times.
There's so many cool words in Malagasy, so many little funny phrases. And
well, there's your Malagasy lesson for today, Charlie.
There's my hafa.
Hafa tea.
Yeah, it's like
it's a little bit hafa.
Yeah, but foreigners or faza, people would say you're hafa. When they don't understand your habits, you have different way of life, and they would say the faza or hafa.
Fair enough.
We do have a bit of a hafa way of life, don't we, Ken?
Yeah.
I would say we're more than half hafa. Fully hafa.
So when it was very nice night walk. We didn't forget anything.
I think we
had
covered the highlights. Yeah. So many things up there. It's like we've talked about before with Malagasy Forest. You just leave feeling rich in what you've seen.
Yeah.
And just so many different groups, mammals and frogs and reptiles. And although, one bizarre thing that was completely missing up there, snakes.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm saying I had something, but I forgot about it. The snakes, we haven't seen even one. We were wondering maybe the Serpent Eagle ate them all.
Madagascar is usually pretty snake rich, but I guess
we haven't seen one.
In the lowlands, eh?
Well, I truly wonder if it's correlated with the presence of Madagascar serpent eagle, because there's at least 3 pairs in those little, relatively small forests around the camp,
Right.
and that has to exert some influence on the snake population. I don't know.
I bet the red owls also would probably take snakes, do you think?
Absolutely.
Owl, yeah.
Small mammals, yeah.
So we're wondering, where are the snakes?
Where are the snakes? And according to the Peregrine Fund guys, the serpent eagles actually hunt chameleons most of the time. And that might just be because there's so many more chameleons. There's just this crazy abundance, especially this hafa.
Hafa. They love hafa meal. Yeah. So we needed to get ready to go back on that road after the rain.
It was
like, okay.
Well, yeah, we
be brave.
knew there'd been some rain and it was going to be worse than when we came, and indeed it was. But we made it. I would say it took us an hour longer than on the way up, but we got stuck once, and so not even really stuck. We just got in a tough spot, and then we had to kind of set things up with rocks and the shovel, and to kind of not get really, really stuck. But man, it was intense.
I guess you had a bit more gravity on your side going down. Eh?
It's definitely easier, definitely. In a way, although sometimes those can be treacherous. There's one place where you do this kind of hairpin turn in the forest, and it's muddy, and you're just terrified of sliding.
Sliding
into the sort of canal, right? Yeah, they had a canal to try to keep the road dry, but it was just a treacherous little place. But we were tired when we finished that drive, but there was definitely a feeling of relief, like we're not going to be stuck up there. When we kind of felt like we'd escaped from this paradise, like one last glimpse before the whole place is just inundated.
Right.
And it was part of what was interesting about visiting that area, is just thinking that, okay, for us this is once or an occasional thing, but then that's normal life for those people. And also seeing there's this whole economy of tractors driving up there. And they only quit for about 2 months a year when it's just absolutely swamped during the rainy season. But these tractors, they drag stuff up there, bottles of Coke and beer and soap powder and, just rice. And like the economy, such as it is up there, just keeps going. And that's part of why the roads are so destroyed in terms of a 4x4. But just thinking about that was interesting. It's like a glimpse at a place in a world that people don't see normally. Like even living in Madagascar, you don't really see those, like the realm of the tractor very often.
Right. Just out of curiosity, if I was to sort of turn up in that area, how would I be able to sort of pay a tractor driver to sort of drive me up there, or what?
I'm sure you could. Or
just
you
curious.
could,
or a bike.
A bike is easy. A motorbike is easy.
Motorbike.
So there's local guys that would sort of drive you up there on a bike.
No problem. Yeah. That's actually kind of the normal mode of transportation. There's no taxi buses up there because the road is just too bad. Right. So motorbikes and tractors are the normal, and zebu cart and walking. Those are the normal modes of transport. So no, it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be hard to find some transport.
Good.
And with your motivation,
no problem.
You will do it pretty easily.
I'm going to set the wheels in motion. Yeah, I'm right there.
So we came out of the mountains, and we then faced the prospect of spending the rest of our time traveling in the unbelievably hot, humid, sweaty lowlands of western Madagascar for the rest of our time. So that, I don't know what you would say, Charlie, but I would say that western Madagascar, sort of in December, is one of the most oppressively hot places I've ever been in the world.
Go out birding maybe at dawn for a couple of hours, and then you want to be in a pool or air-conditioned room after that, I think.
And you find yourself just soaked in sweat by about 7:30 in the morning. It's so rich in wildlife. Like it's worth it, especially if you're only visiting once. But it does take a certain toll just in terms of being so hot. And December is the hottest month, so you can visit Madagascar like in October, and it's hot, but it's much more moderate. But December, it's really blazing. So
I've had a client collapsing actually in Ankarana, climbing those steps and just getting to the top and just like collapsing. It's
because of the heat.
Because of the heat, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a tough place to start. It's a good place in terms of birding, but in terms of the climate, it's a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell Charley about the whole electricity situation?
Yeah, it reminded me about the electricity. So we were going back to civilization after 5 nights of camping, no electricity and everything. And especially Ken was looking for, recharging batteries, having AC,
recorder.
Yeah, using a fan. But then we arrived in the hotel and electricity was cut. As you call it here, délestage.
Délestage,
The Chirama, it's just cut for hours, so Ken couldn't charge anything. The fan didn't work. The AC didn't work. It was
we had electricity for a few hours, and we got in the room and we were so excited, and we turned on the AC. Well, the AC just didn't work. It was one of those that just blows hot air on you.
Yeah, but then we were unlucky because the hotel has a generator, but the generator was broken, and they have to bring it to a bigger town to fix it, which would take at least 2 days. And we were staying for 1 night, and even Ken had to wash his hands in the swimming pool.
It was so I was working on the car a little bit, and I got my hands just covered in oil and dirt, and there was no water anywhere. And I was like, I'm not getting in my car and driving all day with my, I got to wash my hands. And the only water available was the swimming pool. It was like this apocalyptic situation.
Oh, no.
It was also a little bit of a protest, dramatic protest gesture, I think, to the absurdity of being in a relatively nice hotel that has no water, no electricity, no air conditioning.
Yeah. And then we were like...
pretty sweltering at night, eh?
Oh.
Even for me, it was like I was sweating all night. I couldn't really sleep well. So when we left the town, we were like, okay, we're on an adventure. Let's keep a positive attitude. We're going in another town, staying for 1 night.
So we'll get some electricity. We'll charge everything up.
And then charge everything. Fine. We arrived in that town, and guess what happened there? I'll let you guess what happened in the next town.
No electricity. You said it.
So no electricity again, but we found out it was like cut since 2 or 3 days before we arrived, and the same thing.
It's like on a local, and the whole region was.
There's no real grid, so it's town by town.
Yeah, it's town by town.
It's town by town, but it was just.
It wasn't related to the other town. Mm-hmm. It was entirely independent and very unlucky. Yep.
Pure coincidence. We didn't have electricity for 8 days then, and
all the batteries were running out. Was it cold
Cristal or no?
Nothing.
Absolutely no cold drinks.
Even the restaurant were closed because they didn't want the fridge couldn't work without electricity. Really? They didn't want to keep much food. They didn't know there will be guests, and it was like a Madagascar experience. With the electricity.
Focus on the ficus.
Yeah. So we didn't have that. And we tried to ask when it will come back. Is anybody having a generator or what? No, we just wait. They have to wait for the technician from the capital in Tana. And it was a Saturday. We were there. So the weekend, nobody worked. And so no electricity for the next few days.
We were driving through the town on Sunday morning when I guess we were leaving. And everybody, like in a normal Madagascar town, everybody's kind of dressed up and is going to church. But I turned to Linjo and I was just saying, think of how sweaty all these people are. They're trying to look nice for church, but, underneath those Sunday clothes, they're just absolutely drenched in sweat and dirty and haven't had a proper shower in days and haven't had a fan.
I don't about the proper shower. I don't really. They don't live in hotels, so they would put pool water. It will be okay. But the clothes were just so heavy and thick.
Right.
And we were sweating.
And there's no fans to mitigate
the body are just habituated to the.
So you don't have any AC in your car.
We do. So we definitely took advantage of that. Okay. That was our only.
You kept that on, yeah.
Only refuge.
But we couldn't sleep in the car.
Right. Unfortunately,
leave the engine going. Yeah.
I actually thought about it at some point.
Really,
you're kind of sleep deprived. You have these feverish ideas.
Yeah.
So the reason we went down to this wonderful town of Port Berger, which had no electricity, was Angelique had told me about this place called Bunglavu, which is a sandy ridgeline, kind of like a plateau that actually has forest on it, of which there's very little left in western Madagascar in general. It's a sort of a community forest, but he said there's still forest, and then he mentioned some really cool reptiles that are there. And there's just a lot of great birds in that habitat in general, and so I couldn't resist. I wanted to see this place. And so we headed up to this forest in the late afternoon, and it's very different than getting to a national park where things are pretty organized and, you know, paying your entry fees and getting a local guide and all this. It was very much, we showed up in this tiny village and then had to find what's called the chef de Fukuntani, who's sort of like the mayor, but it's kind of, it's like the most fundamental unit of government in Madagascar is the Fukuntani level. It's kind of the most meaningful government that happens in Madagascar. So we had to find the chef de Fukuntani and get him to let us go to the forest. And then he had to sort of recommend, okay, this guy can take you there. Of course, it's Madagascar, so they never want to just let you go to the forest on your own. You know, you always have to be with some kind of local guide. But then, okay, we this took 30 minutes or something. I was just sitting there sweating. We got a bit of good news. Instead of having to walk up to the forest, which was quite a long walk from the village, there was a road. There's a new road. You can drive all the way to the forest. Like, ooh. Yeah. Angelique's very excited about this. This is very good news. And okay, so we head up this new road. Within about 5 meters, it's clear this is like a road for
carts.
Yep, for ox carts. And it's unbelievably narrow and steep and eroded. But it was one of these things where as soon as we started going down it, you can't back. Turn around. You're just going down this avenue of like dense brush, and you've gone up a hill, and there's no place to turn around. And it quickly turned into a sort of nightmarish drive. It was, after we'd just come down from that Bemanevika road, and the car was tired. And
the driver was tired too. Like
I was tired.
We were not expecting another bad road like that.
It was horrendous. I mean, it was bone dry. It hadn't rained there, but it was just awful. And I had to do almost the whole thing in 4x4. And so finally, we got about maybe just 2 kilometers down this road, which took almost an hour. And there was a place to stop and turn around, and we just decided, okay, we're going to stop here. We're going to walk the rest of the way. Now, of course, we're a little bit concerned about the security of the car, just leaving it in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have anybody to watch it, but the local guy said, nah, no problem. It's safe. Yeah. And in general, that's true. It's amazing for such a poor country. That was one of the take-home things from this trip to me, is just how much you really can trust people in the middle of nowhere in Madagascar. Like, it's actually quite astounding. In a rich U.S. city, you can so easily get robbed if you don't lock your car or something. And we left our car all over the place and didn't have the slightest issue. Just basically pull up to anybody's house and ask them to look after the car, and they will, and you can actually trust them. It's actually pretty remarkable thing. So, but in this case, we didn't have anybody watch the car. We just left it in the middle of nowhere. We headed up the hill to get to this forest, and we got there maybe an hour before sunset. Unfortunately, we discovered there had been a huge fire, which is really the major problem that's destroying forests in Madagascar. And so the entire area where Angelique used to find these wonderful reptiles, one chameleon and one leaf-tailed gecko, absolutely broiled out of existence. Was just charred devastation. So he was quite upset about this. But thankfully, when we got high enough up there, we actually got to the forest, and the forest was absolutely magical. Bizarre, botanically totally bizarre. So it's growing on top of the sandy plateau. So it's very sort of dry, and I think those environments just usually drive a lot of weird plant forms. So just all kinds of pachypodiums and euphorbias, and everything was flowering because of the season.
We even had orchids.
Multiple species of orchids.
Really? Just very rich in plant
unbelievably
diversity.
Botanically rich. And then you would reach these little sandy glades where there was this like pure white sand. For some reason, nothing would grow there. And you get sort of a half acre, just completely bare sand with a few bushes and pachypodiums. Really
strange plants, different shape, different kinds.
Some of them were like what you see along the beach because it's similar growing conditions, I guess. So it's this weird hybrid like sand / western deciduous forest. Absolutely fascinating place, and it, like so many things we did on this trip, it felt like we'd passed through this purgatory to get to this like paradise up above. And it's, you know, when you drive through northern Madagascar on the national road, you can get the feeling that everything is destroyed and there's no forest left. But then you discover these little refuges, and it's quite exciting, and in a way that it's not when in a place that's just all forest. When you actually discover something natural in such a highly degraded area, it's really exciting. So we stuck around.
Yeah, we even thought we could have camped there. You know, it was so nice, and then the sky was open.
Oh, it was beautiful. Just on these little sandy glades, it would be a wonderful campsite.
And the wind, it was a little windy, so it was cool.
It's more comfortable than the town of Port Berger.
The town without electricity.
So we stayed. The plan was to stay until after dark to look for reptiles and lemurs, which we did, and we enjoyed this beautiful sunset. But unfortunately, as the sun started to set, we saw this huge pall out on the eastern horizon, and then we started to get flashes of light. And we were confused.
Really?
We were thinking, is electricity back in the town? And then we realized, no, that's lightning. And it was one of the most powerful storm clouds I've ever seen. It was way in the distance.
Wow.
Yeah, but if we could make a video, it would.
The lightning,
awesome.
It was just non-stop lightning. It's just unbelievable thunderhead bearing down on us. So the local guide said, you know, maybe 2 a.m. it'll hit. Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Because we were worried about the way back on the car. As we told you, it was a non-road. It was like not accessible. And with the rain, we would be stuck again.
Yep, again.
So we were terrified. Like, what should we do? Should we just leave and run back to the car as soon as we can to avoid the rain and not be stuck here? But, oh man, we've invested so much in getting to this forest. And so we decided to persevere, and we did a night walk. The reptiles, no sign of them because their habitat had basically been burned. But we did find this fairly recently described mouse lemur called Bunglavu mouse lemur that's endemic basically to that ridge line. And it's really cool looking, actually quite distinctive mouse lemur. So that was exciting because it's just something that almost nobody has seen. You know, only researchers who described it, I think, have seen it, and the local who would come to the forest, like
I'm sure
just
the
passing
people
by.
In the village will see it occasionally, but just so many people see and photograph the species that are in the national parks and stuff over and over again. But for me, with all the time I've done on the island, spent on the island, to see something new and then to get some photos, it was quite exciting.
It was a big reward after all of the effort we put in and
all the uncertainty. But as we saw this mouse lemur, but it started to get windier and windier, and this huge thunderhead just started to bear down, and it quickly became obvious that this 2 a.m. weatherman prediction was completely wrong. Like it was going to be raining within an hour, and so we basically sprinted down this mountain, and we got to the car and just drove as fast as I possibly could down the mountain, and we beat the rain by about 15 minutes. And again, if it had rained on this little cart track, no way we would have got. You know, we already had a plan of, well, I guess we'll have to camp here, and it just would have been horrible, just in the mud, in this burned this burned hillside, in the mud, in a torrential rain. It would have been a horrific night.
Yeah, we had like adrenaline, but then a big relief when we were back on the national road. Like, whew, we made it. We made it. We didn't have to camp there, and happy with the mouse lemur, and and the plant.
It was well worth
a botanical paradise.
It was.
Yeah.
So it was one of the highlights of the trip for me, just the whole experience. And again, we just barely escaped before the rain just would have made it inaccessible, at least to a car.
We had so many challenges during that trip. And again, you need to collect. It was a real, naturally adventurous one. Again, a real one. Like, you can get stuck. You don't book ahead guides. You don't do any bookings ahead. You just come and...
It's so funny. Like almost all the traveling I've done in Madagascar has been, with a driver in a nice vehicle on a, roads might have a few potholes or whatever, and you might get in an hour later than you thought or whatever, but you're always in a nice place with electricity and nice food and drinks and stuff like that. It's and even sometimes clients were thinking, they're roughing it a little bit, but when it kind of puts it into perspective, the more kind of challenging traveling that you guys have done.
It is worth mentioning, since we're all sort of in the business of guiding Madagascar tours, that you can travel on the island with a remarkable degree of comfort, which is really amazing considering how poor it is and the sort of lives most people have. It's
just got better and better over the years as well. Definitely. I always remember, maybe half the places were nice when I started, and every year each location would add like a new nice hotel, and now almost across the board it's really nice places.
Definitely. But we were off the beaten path, naturally adventurous, and also at the sort of one of the more challenging times of the year as well. So, but the rewards were great. So yeah, I guess next thing, we had quite a bit of driving to do. We stopped. We already told you a bit about the blue-eyed black lemur. We stopped in.
Right. Yeah.
We visited 2 more little community forests for the blue-eyed black lemur, which kind of simultaneously encouraging and depressing. When you see just how small these forest scraps are.
Yeah, and we've seen in Ken's picture that we had one young lemur with a blue eye. Last time we were saying there were more greenish eyes.
A lot of them had green eyes.
Yeah, but this one was blue and pretty. We think it's because of the sun, the reflection of the sun in the eyes, and then you can see
an artifact of the light as well. But that would definitely had one female with really blue eyes. Beautiful, bizarre. I guess it's the only primate other than humans that has blue eyes. So we headed north. And
we headed back north on the national road
on the
number 6.
So this is my joke, Charley, which you might appreciate. The national road that runs from sort of Majunga to Diego is called the Route Nationale 6. So it's the National Road 6. But Sisi in Malagasy is kind of slang for Tsimisi, which means there is not. So I call this the Route Nationale Tsimis. Like, there is no Route Nationale here. There's a kind of a Zebu cart track sometimes.
Really?
But it was interesting. So when I headed down to meet Linjo, it was still dry, but there had been heavy rains all over the place. And the Route Nationale had become sort of the national duck and goose sanctuary.
At least it made somebody happy. The ducks and the geese, the goose, they would just be almost everywhere near the village where you have those lakes in the road.
So there's huge potholes that are like 1 meter deep, and when I drove down, they were dry, but they'd filled up with water. So there are these like swimming pools everywhere, and the geese were just loving it. Many times we literally had to like shoo them off the road to get through some big pothole swimming pool. Just to set the scene.
When the pothole when they fill with water, you don't know how deep they are anymore. It's like I always remember that the whole road looks nice and flat because they're all filled in, but you've got these huge potholes underwater.
Exactly, and so we're actually driving that road again in 2 days to go to Tana for Christmas with the family, and some of those potholes, they're going to be over 1 meter deep if they've completely filled. So it's going to be an interesting drive. It was a little bit uneventful. We actually stayed at a fairly nice hotel for a couple days and had some electricity, got everything charged up. We What did we do?
We did a night walk.
That's right. So on the way, I had stopped to see that northern giant mouse lemur, oxymoronic lemur.
And I wanted to see it too.
Linjo wanted to caress it.
Yeah, so I wanted to see it, and we stopped at that town and in Ambanza, and it was not real night walk like we usually do in Madagascar, where you really walk. It was more like what you do, guys, abroad, like staying in the car and
spotlighting from the car. There's so many lemurs there that you can just easily spotlight them. Yeah, it's amazing. It's one of the best.
I think we've seen 4 different species on that night. Many. Even me, I spotted like 3.
More than that, yeah.
3 at least during that. It was like 45 minutes in the maximum.
Maybe an hour, but
maybe
it wasn't very long.
Yeah, very short compared. After Bemanevika, our standards rise so high.
After the 3-hour night walks, this was just an hour and a
really
half.
Short.
It was a short one.
And then no walk and then driving. It was like very easy.
It's a weird area. It's far from natural. It's along the Sambirano River, which is the big regional river, and it has this mix of like albizia canopy, which is an introduced Asian albizia, and then the understory is basically cacao and bananas, but somehow this mix of exotic stuff seems really good for lemurs, and there's just crazy density of lemurs, and so we saw 4 different lemurs that are basically endemic just to that Sambirano region, which is that northwest region of Madagascar. So that would be 4 things you've never seen, Charley.
Yeah.
Oof. And some pretty cool ones as well.
No, I'm starting to form my next trip there. We've got our group assembled already. My friend Tarek and his wife Mel and their 2 kids they're just desperate to get to Madagascar, and Felix is also desperate to get there. So, and as I said before, I'm definitely only going to go to places where I can see new things. I'm not going to go around the same places I've been 10 times before. So yeah, some of these places sound pretty amazing.
You should definitely do the north. It's just so rich in herps and lemurs as well. Plus, you can do Bemanevika for all the birds. So it seems like an obvious choice.
I've been putting a lot of photos on. I've been setting up some Naturally Adventurous Facebook channel and Instagram. So I've been putting in photos from past episodes. But we did an episode on life in Madagascar. So I was going through my old videos of lemurs and stuff, which was quite fun.
Some virtual travel.
Oh yeah, it's great. It took me back, but I got this great video of a common brown lemur just coming right at eye level, sort of checking me out. So if anyone looks at Naturally Adventurous podcast on Facebook or Instagram, you'll find those. It's pretty cool.
This actually reminds me of a little story about the blue-eyed black lemur. I mentioned they're in these tiny little forest scraps in their community reserves. It seems like at some of these community forests, they don't feed them, and they keep them relatively wild. Maybe they eat mangoes, but at one of the 3 that I visited, they're definitely feeding them. And so the funny thing here, it was actually the biggest forest of the 3, and we struggled a bit to find the lemurs. At one point, we got separated, and so we're shouting. I was Linjo, oh, and and then she was oh, and we're kind of shouting back and forth through the forest.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, this is how we found the lemurs. Because the lemurs heard us, and they came sprinting through the trees, and they came to within about 1 meter, and they're just kind of looking at us with the big blue or green eyes, and kind of grunting and like, oh, the bananas are
food.
Here. Yep. So that was an odd experience.
The difference with like monkeys that get fed in Africa or Asia, they just become incredibly badly behaved and snatching food off you and biting and just getting really aggressive. But the lemurs just get really sort of gentle, and they come down, and I remember this one, it was like trying to touch my hand with these little kind of leathery fingers, and it was the cutest thing. I've also got another video of a lemur coming down right next to my face, and I thought, I'm going to try and get a selfie of me and this sifaka. And I actually took a video of it, and this thing comes and sniffs my face. It looks like it's giving me a peck on the cheek. And I went back and showed it to my son, and he gets quite cross, and he says, "Dad, I want a lemur kiss." He got very jealous of me getting this lemur kiss.
That's pretty cute.
But they're such gentle creatures, though. They're just so amazing. I know it's not good to feed them and get them used to humans like that, but they're just incredibly sort of gentle animals.
You know, I do have mixed feelings about it because I guess for these local communities, feeding these lemurs is a way of connecting the people with the lemurs and probably making them feel kind of responsible for them. So sure, if from pure ecological standpoint, not a great thing to be feeding them, but if it fosters a connection between the community and the wildlife,
help the conservation.
Maybe it's justifiable. I don't know. But I was, you're talking about how gentle and sort of polite lemurs are. I was just thinking of, what if you started feeding like vervet monkeys or baboons or something in this? Oh my goodness,
they're horrendous.
It'd be tearing people limb from limb. Yeah,
they're just dreadful. They're just naughty. It's like comparing the most well-behaved child in a class to just the real delinquent, going off the rails child that's just swinging from the ceiling and throwing things at the teacher. It's like just chalk and cheese.
No, I think it's like just a Madagascar thing. People are gentle. People are nice. People are nice friendly. Well, and I think it's the same thing with animal. And the place is safe, and I don't know. There is an atmosphere. It's except in the town, of course. Like every big city, you always have different feeling.
I was thinking about this quite a bit, Charlie, just in terms of the security and how I just had so much confidence in the rural people not to break into my car. And then I was comparing that with South Africa, and I was thinking, absolutely no way I would. I honestly and sadly, most places in South Africa, even if I parked it right in front of somebody's house and asked them to look after the car, I wouldn't really trust that they would. A lot of people probably would, but there'd be that enough wouldn't that it would make it a very risky thing to do.
Yeah, it's quite different. But usually there's usually people around to that are car guards, and usually paying those guys does the trick. But I think on the odd occasion it won't. It's the same in Thailand now. I mean, I'm so used to it just being 100% safe. When I take my scooter to the supermarket, I'll leave the helmet there. You leave your jacket on there. I'll leave my phone in the front of the bike sometimes. I'll leave the key in the ignition. I forget. I've got my little valuables draped all over this thing in a public car park. No one touches it. It's like it's ridiculous.
You're going to be dead meat if you ever move back to South Africa.
I know. I'm worried. Even going to visit, you just so off your guard.
So we headed north on that wonderful National Goose Sanctuary Road, and our plan was still up in the air. In the end, we decided we were going to come back to my home. Linza was going to come visit her sister, my wife, for a little while before we head back to the capital for Christmas. But on the way, we made a stopover in this national park called Ankarana, which there are 3 areas in Madagascar that have what's called singi, which is very finely eroded limestone, like limestone karst. As you know, Charlie, I guess you've been to the Bemanevika, right?
I've been to the
So this is one of the 3 singi areas, and Linjo had never been there, so we stopped over there. It was a whole adventure. The adventure didn't stop. We had planned on camping in the national park, and we arrived in the middle of a torrential downpour to find out that camping wasn't allowed.
No.
Why?
No.
Park is open, yep, but no camping. Why? COVID, because of COVID. But why? COVID.
Makes sense.
As the story developed, I guess some regional chef of the national parks was coming the next day, and everyone was just terrified of doing something that hadn't been specifically authorized. But man, it was a major disappointment. We're thinking of being in the forest and it's going to be peaceful. We're going to do night walks, and instead we basically all the lodges are closed because of the pandemic. So we ended up having to camp under this pavilion in the pouring rain, right next to the national road. And we just had this horrific night in which dogs are barking around us, big trucks are passing, and the pavilion was right under a mango tree that was just dropping a grenade mango every 15 minutes, and then it hits the corrugated tin roof, and it was just impossible to sleep. It was just this literal barrage all through the night.
And the fiesta, the
boom boom boom.
Oh yeah.
They put you into Ken.
Oh my goodness. There was a big party as well. So this is a little town with absolutely no electricity, but somehow there's a huge party with like thumping, thundering bass all night. And then someone started singing.
At 3 a.m. or 2 a.m.
Like in a house right next to us.
In a house, yeah.
It was a terrible night.
Especially for a light sleeper.
I'm a light sleeper.
Ken.
I suffered.
Yeah.
And not to mention that it's just unbelievably brutally hot. So anyways, we survived.
Bit of a come down.
Yeah, but we had the highlight of the night. So after all of this disappointment, no camping in the forest, no hotel, no lodge, nothing, no electricity, no network coverage, no guide. No, we had Angelique. He was the specialist of the north. But then the rain comes. And we were stuck. We couldn't do a night walk. We were waiting, and we were sitting. Just okay. Are we going to make a night walk? And then let's wait for the rain. And as we were waiting, all of these termites came in the light to gather around our lights, and we were sitting, and that was our show. Like okay, television. Like looking how many termites will come after the rain.
We were just sitting there. Linjo has this really cool solar lamp, and we're just sitting at the table. She's reading.
Yes.
And there's a few of these little winged, I guess they're winged alates, like fluttering around. Oh, that's cool. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, oh, there's like 100 now.
And then Angelique.
And then there was like 500, and then suddenly we couldn't sit there anymore because they're like falling all over our faces. And so we backed our chairs up about 5 meters, and they're still crawling on us. We back up 10 meters, and it was like this engrossing spectacle. And thousands, there were thousands, and there seemed to be no upper limit. They were just absolutely covering the light and the table and the floor and
everything. We had to move.
You can eat those things,
Exactly. So that's the point.
Like a delicacy,
we were wondering if you, as a vegetarian, would you eat insect termites, and is it in your?
I don't know. It depends how hungry I was.
Yeah. So Angelique,
they sort of fry them up, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So we were not going for a night walk, and Angelique was talking about people do eat termites.
Very rich in protein, he said.
Rich, and then we were tired. We had the food was not. We had food, but maybe not enough protein. So we had this idea. Why don't we try that? And Angelique ran away. He was terrified. He didn't want to. He was like, okay, good night, guys. We don't do a night walk, right? He checked, and then he left. And Ken started to gather. How do we take those? And then he took a pan, and then we made a fire, and fried them.
Just a little oil.
Little oil.
And you did?
Yes.
Fried them up. Absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
Were they?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We were fighting over the last mouthful of fried termites.
And we were thinking about maybe you need to tell. You're better at telling. So when he took some, then let's fry them, and we realized if we put the light above the pan, the frying pan, they will fly in. So we don't we don't really need to gather them, and it worked very well. And
so the wings and all.
Yes, wings and body.
The wings even seem to have this nice little spiciness to them.
Crispy. Do they?
Yes.
What do they taste of though? Are they sweet at all?
No.
I would say quite nutty, like a really almost like a macadamia nut, like a really rich fatty nut.
It's really good. I'm sure if you could eat insects, you would love it.
Yeah, we were actually sitting there munching these and asking ourselves, would Charley, as a vegetarian, would he participate in this, in eating these termites?
Is there a soda water to wash it down?
a nice hot soda water.
Insects are quite popular in Thailand, especially in you got some certain markets, night markets and stuff. There's always a couple of ones with fried crickets and all sorts of different things. So, and my son has been a vegetarian from birth, but the only sort of animal that he's actually eaten has been these like a little fried cricket, which he tried once.
Yeah.
It has a strangely different feeling as an ethical dilemma to me. Now, I'm not a vegetarian, but it does seem like it's in a slightly different category. I'm not quite sure why, if it's just the abundance of insects or the fact that they're neglected as a food source.
It's a food of the future. It's really the food of the future. I think I think they're starting to make burgers and stuff out of insects.
I'm all for it.
It was tasty.
I think ecologically, it's very sound, and also nutritionally.
These things, I guess they're emerging in vast numbers, and then like probably 1,000th of 1% might found a new colony or something. So it's just this huge abundance that's fueled by the rain, and it's all going to be wasted. Like, it just doesn't feel like eating these things is taking anything away from nature.
It can be amazing for birding, when you get one of these termite emergencies and there's birds just going absolutely nuts. You'll get birds like right next to you. They just don't care because they're just
we had those falcons
like a feeding frenzy.
flying overhead.
That's right. Yeah, we had, this is one thing throughout our trip, the falcon migration was really kicking off. So you have these two rare Eleonoras and sooty. They were just everywhere. Yeah. They were just migrating and roosting, and big flocks of them, and being chased by drongos, and we just saw these falcons everywhere. Wow. And so that was a cool thing. When we woke up in Ankarana, there were still some termites flying around, and these these sooty falcons were just going to town on these termites. Which I guess that's why they come to Madagascar in the season, is to feast on this sort of thing, this ephemeral food sources. We did a long hike in Ankarana National Park, and although I live nearby, I hadn't been there for a couple of years, and I always forget what an amazing place it is. It's a weird place. Right. It feels like a lost world, another lost world. Like, you're in this little village with dogs barking in the national road, but then you walk a couple kilometers, and suddenly you're in this. It really feels Jurassic. Like it feels like something from a different age on Ankarana. You get into like canyons with this gallery forest, and then endless tsingy, and you sort of climb up on the tsingy. There's all these weird plants. You just wouldn't be surprised to see some extinct mammal just kind of like snuffling through the undergrowth or something. It's one of these places where you feel like you're traveling in time and space. So it was super, super hot in Ankarana, unbelievably hot. And I guess there had been a huge cicada emergence. And so there was just this deafening drone of cicadas.
Literally deafening.
Literally, yeah. Like your ears are ringing.
Yes.
But I think it added to this feeling of just like, what is this place? Where am I? Probably the sleep deprivation of the night before also contributed to this weirdly altered state of consciousness. We went into a bat cave where tourists often go, and Angelique was amazed because he said, I haven't seen, there were thousands of straw-colored fruit bats in there. It sounded like a waterfall, them flying around. And he said, I haven't seen it like this for more than 10 years. Because there's so many tourists coming and disturbing them. I guess they'd moved to other caves. During the pandemic, they've moved back to the original cave. So you're in caves, and you're climbing over the tsingy.
Swift.
Yeah, the cave was full of black swifts too, and it was an epic hike. Awesome.
And tarantulas.
Yeah, the cave was full of huge tarantulas.
For me, it's pretty amazing to see the tarantulas. It's like, I've seen them on movie, and
you've never seen tarantulas before?
I've seen, but just once per year, maybe. It's very rare, and people usually are afraid of spiders and stuff. So we would not stop for that.
So we had a great hike, although just unbelievably hot, and so I guess we probably need to wrap up this podcast, but. For the natural sound,
getting a bit long now.
Yep. For the natural sound, to give you a little feel of this hot and cicada-dominated environment, this weird lost world of Ankarana, I'll play you this recording. It has Madagascar cuckoo, Madagascar blue vanga, and red-tailed vanga in it. But you can barely hear the birds because the cicadas are just so loud. So hopefully this recording has a little bit of the feeling of just this sweaty, hot, but unbelievably sort of biodiverse Western Madagascar where we were traveling.
It was really beautiful for me. As a first time, I would take a few pictures on my phone and sending them to friends who don't travel that much, who would ask, like, where is that place? They didn't even think it's Madagascar. And most of them would say it's like in a movie, just to tell you how beautiful is the place, and was very nice ending.
It's another place that your family will love, Charley. Just tons of wildlife and just
it's another big
great hiking.
We need to get
to. Lemurs.
And I guess for next time we'll go back to your top 10 lifetime mammals, right?
Yeah, we'll get back to our mammals a little bit. Who knows? Maybe I'll even have a new mammal by the time we do that episode. We're about to. So you're about to hit the road again and head to Tanna for Christmas, is it?
That's right. Yep. So we'll be there by sort of Wednesday next. So a week from now, we'll be there.
Right. Yeah. Same. We're going to be leaving in a few days and heading south as well, hitting some more parks on the way down. So yeah, we'll let you know what we see as well. Okay, so that's all we've got time for today. We'll say goodbye to Linjo. Any last words, Linjo?
It was great. Thank you for having me as a guest, and I hope you loved the story and you liked the podcast together. And
thanks for joining us.
If anyone is interested in going to Madagascar, don't hesitate to send an email, get in contact, and if Continent Expeditions is ready to welcome you and make you have a great experience of Madagascar. Thank you and bye-bye. Maybe if we have another trip, I will be honored to come back.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Definitely. Welcome anytime. Cool. Okay. That's all from me. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.